Good afternoon. Yeah, the energy went down a little bit with the lunch. So let's see. Yeah, let's see if I can bring that up. Some of you know me, but for those of you who don't know me, my name mispronounced is Ekhlaq, but pronounced correctly, it's with a epiglottis, Ekhlaq. And I am not finishing my presentation on time. So please forgive me. This is a topic that is very dear to me, and I am going to share something that I believe is an opportunity for all of us when it comes to customer experience. So we'll do a quick exercise for the people who are in the room. Put yourself in the shoes of customer. You have been a customer of many services. You already are. And so just think about an experience of customer service or as a customer that you didn't like. Okay? Maybe one, maybe a couple. So I'll give you a moment to think about it. And if I may just request you to please make a note of that, because I want you to, we're going to come back to this sometime later in the presentation. But before I begin, anybody wants to share what came to their mind when it comes to bad customer experience or bad customer service? When you want to book a cab?
And especially when we are landing in some place, then you will see that both leading cabs, the fleets are not available.
The fleets are not available.
Yeah, so in that time we will get irritated and we will keep waiting and.
Can you please write this down? You get irritated and you keep waiting. Okay, very good. And this is a good example. Anybody else wants to share? So you can say Uber, Ola, it's okay. It's a very good point to make. And then even if you get a cab, just remember what you have to go through before you are seated in the cab. Okay, so that anybody else wants to share? Anger of being cheated. Okay, excellent. Anybody else? Lack of respect. Okay, anger of being cheated, lack of respect. Anything?
Something that you have to do in that only. There is no other option for that particular time. You become like helpless.
You become helpless. Something that you have to do it there.
Like bank.
Lag.
Your account is there. You have to do
You have to do something there. Okay. So let's take it the bank, and you have to do something there. But what about that experience? Can you think of any specific instance or experience when with a particular bank you had to do something? You were forced to.
Okay. One more thing, when CIOs like us, when we give a presentation or when we speak much about our company or like that, but when we use that, what they claim is not happening.
What?
What
What
they claim.
they claim is not happening. So what is claimed by the company is not what is experienced by the customer. Okay, excellent. So I'm actually quite delighted because all the experiences that you spoke about is being covered in what I'm going to talk about, and then there is a message. There is a takeaway for us. Okay. When we talk about customer experience is such a subjective word, right? It's about feeling. It's how you feel, right? And it's kind of like water. And if you try to hold water, it is nearly impossible to hold water. But yet, customer experience is extremely important, both to attract and to retain customers. So today's presentation, as he spoke about, is about sharing with you a hidden gem within the customer experience world that will allow you to do the impossible, which is hold water. Okay? It's just being used as an analogy because water is everywhere, which brings me to the next slide. When you think about customer experience, I don't want you to read through the slide. I just want you to know that there are so many things that go behind a good customer experience, right? Here are a few, and if you think these are enough, no. Here is more, right? And this I got from the internet. You know, type how to improve customer experience. This is what came, right? There's a zillion things that go beyond customer experience, right? So how do you? And so when you have an elephant like this, you have to cut it into pieces. Here is the attempt to cut the customer experience elephant into pieces. Okay. So what makes up for great customer experience? First and foremost, for your experience and everything else, the quality of your product and service is number one. Whether it is number one, number two, it doesn't matter. But it is, when you think about all the examples in the customer experience, the company that is offering the product or the service, if the product or service is not good, the quality is not good, nothing else will matter, right? So it is a huge part of customer experience. Another thing is price, right? You can have a great product service, Ferrari, right? You can't afford it. Or if something is outpriced, look, during the big day sale, 99.7% of India's pin codes order something. That's an outstanding fact. But why? Because people love the price. So remember, even if you have a slightly inferior product or service, but you have priced it attractively, that also constitutes for customer experience. Another one, behavior. Who spoke about speaking rudely or they don't understand? Somebody spoke about that, right, as an example. This is also called customer empathy. How well do you understand your customer? And you can have a great product and service, you have priced it correctly, but if you're rude to the customer, that will make for poor customer experience. I don't know how many of you have interacted with Amex, whether through a call center or whatever it is. Yeah. How do you feel when about the interaction?
Many times other car holders say, go and push. How to interact with the customer.
Yeah. How to interact? You got to learn.
How to interact with the customer.
Yeah, and sometimes you are like, चल थोड़ी देर और बात करते हैं, right? Because it is all things given. If the customer doesn't feel the empathy, right? If the customer doesn't feel that he or she is being understood, you lose the customer, irrespective of your prior product or price. Okay. Somebody spoke about trust. You spoke about trust, right? Somebody here spoke about trust. I want to be, no, okay. You didn't speak about trust. You said, whatever the company claims is what I should experience. Right? Yeah. Yeah, you said that, right? So whatever the company claims, I should experience. That is a matter of trust. I have put up one brand here, but there are many. In fact, when I was making the presentation, one person suggested that I should put Google here. I said, no way, I don't trust Google with my data. I don't trust Facebook with my data. So behind trust is a lot of transparency. What are you doing with the data? What are you doing with security? And over a period of time, you build some trust in the brand. And that is part of your experience. I'll give you, there are many public sector companies that are trusted more than private sector companies. Okay? LIC being one of them. It has the largest market share despite its price not being the most attractive. So I'm from life insurance industry, and I know LIC is not priced better than a lot of private players, yet people buy LIC because they trust, right? So, as I said, customer experience is made out of many things. I've cut the elephant into 5 pieces here. One is product and service, important. Second is price, important. Behavior or empathy with the customer, and trust. So what is missing? नहीं, जो missing है essentially इधर नहीं है, उधर ही है. Right? Any guesses as to, when you think about customer experience, चलो अच्छा product है, price भी ठीक है, मेरे को समझ भी रहे, and I'm a trusted brand. Then what can go wrong in customer experience?
Our expectation are more than
Our expectation versus reality. Okay. What else? Customer service, part of customer experience, right? So what about customer service is missing here? What aspect of customer service is missing here? And this is why I'm calling it a hidden gem, because it's there. When I share this with you, you would know that it is part of the experience. It's just that we don't talk about it as much as we talk about product or quality or behavior or trust or empathy.
They don't know about us.
That is empathy. That is empathy. And the one thing is the effort that the customer has to put in to avail your product or service. Okay? Stay with me on this thought, and I'll elaborate on the effort bit. Okay? This is the actual personal act of the customer. Everything, the product is yours, right? Product is yours, the price is yours, you have empathy, you have built trust. But when the customer is interacting with you, the effort of finding a Uber or a Ola cab, and then when you find it, the amount of effort that goes into before you get seated in the cab. भाई कहाँ हो? वो वहाँ पे जो काला कुत्ता बैठा हो उसके बगल में वो उधर आ जाओ. So it takes a long time, right? But one has to understand that all of this is interconnected. You can't pick out one and say, okay, I'm going to be, very attractive on price, but I'm going to ignore trust, empathy, effort, or product or service, right? So 2 things. One is, I am not going to talk about product and price because there's Bibles written on this, and businesses make this part of the strategy. New product launches, pricing, up and down, and it's part of the business strategy. The empathy and trust is hygiene. If you don't have empathy, if your people do not behave well with the customer and the customer doesn't trust you, is hygiene. My focus is to talk about effort. Okay, the effort that the customer needs to put in. Okay, but before I speak about effort, I want you to know about a story. So there's this king who was bald. Okay, and he was all right, but then he decided one day that he doesn't want to be bald anymore. So he made an announcement. All the doctors in his kingdom must come up with a remedy for him to grow hair, otherwise he's going to execute them, right? So a lot of people, doctors were picked up from the streets, and they're supposed to come up with a remedy, and the doctors couldn't from the kingdom. So they were executed or imprisoned one by one, right? This is a pretty dire situation. Now there was one common man, and he said, I have the remedy for you to grow your hair. Okay? He said, here is a bottle of oil. You apply this oil and your hair will grow. Right? So king said, really? This oil is going to help me grow? Yeah. He said, yes. But there's only one condition, that when you apply this oil, you cannot think about a mango. So the king said, okay, no problems. I don't have to think about a mango. And the more he did not think about the mango, right? So he learned his lesson. He knew that he can't grow his hair. It is impossible not to think about a mango when somebody has told you not to think about a mango. right? But I am going to do it, right? I'm going to say, don't think about product, price, empathy, or trust. Focus on effort. But at the same time, by saying that, I'm making you think all of those four while your focus is on effort. Okay? So there are two types of effort that the customer puts in. One is physical, and the other one is सही बनाया. Very good. All right. So let's talk about different types of physical effort that the customer goes through or organizations make the customers go through. Somebody spoke about bank. I'm forced to do something in a bank. Does that picture look familiar? Right? How much physical effort goes on when it is a crowded place? Forget about a crowded place, but even your websites and your mobile apps, the number of documents, the number of screens you have to scroll through, the number of fields that you have to fill, you're on and on and on, and it says 2% progress, 10% progress, Windows 90% progress, but 10 hours left for the 10%. But this is real, right? And every document you ask the customer for, every click that you ask the customer for, every field you ask the customer to fill, it is he or she is putting in an effort. Okay. The next one, in my society, if my tap goes broken, first I have to log a call. Then they'll send an executive where they don't. Then you have to follow up. Then you have to follow up again. Then the executive comes and then looks at the tap and they says, भैया इसका वॉशर खराब है. तो ये वॉशर कब आए, कैसे आएगा? तो बोला वो तो हमें अलाउड नहीं है खरीदना, आप खरीद के लेके आओ. सो आप अपना वॉशर खरीद के लेकर के आते हो. फिर the same cycle starts. You log in a call, you follow up, the executive comes, वॉशर लगाता है, फिर बोलता है अरे अभी तो ठीक नहीं हुआ सर, लगता है कि टैप ही खराब है, अभी टैप बदलना पड़ेगा. Have you guys gone through this experience where in one go it doesn't happen? You have to call up so many times before the person comes, and when the person comes, he or she does not resolve the problem in the first go, and then you have to go through the entire cycle again. So the number of attempts and the retries you have to make makes for the customer effort. That includes the number of follow-ups. Anybody get SMSs like easy and hassle-free? Huh? Okay. So let's talk about easy and hassle-free home loans. Have you had this experience? Some lawyer calls, some verification guy calls, some operations guy calls, then the sales guy calls, and none of them have spoken to each other, right? In some system, it's there that you're supposed to call a customer. This is an uncoordinated effort. You are making the customer put in some effort with all of these calls that you're making to the customer to process his or her application. Right? So this is another one.
But somewhere the regulations also play a role here, right?
Of course.
Every employee is told that seeing is believing it. Do it by yourself. Don't leave it on someone else. Have it 4 I check, 6 I check, 10 I check. So what happens is everyone ends up complying. I am complying.
Wet signatures, for example, right? You can't take digital signatures, right?
So now what happens is if you don't do it, now there's a regulation that the employee needs to be given a memo and no promotions for that person. These things cascade into all these things.
Right, and regulator plays a huge role. Possibly that should come under customer experiencing, regulator, the more hidden gem or the hidden pain. The point is slightly beyond the regulator. Regulator is a given, so it's an even playing field for everyone. Then what do you do, right? And it's about the physical effort the customer is paying. Can you do all of these in fewer calls? Is how I would still comply with the regulation, do it in fewer calls, right? And is it really hassle-free, or if you're free, I'll hassle you, right? That's what hassle when free means, right? Here's another one. the number of sites or the number of places you make the customer visit. Have you been to a retail shop? They will say, अगर आपको return करना तो इधर जाओ और वहाँ पे ना एक स्टैम्प लगा करके आओ, फिर इधर जाओ, फिर वहाँ पे कोई तुम्हारे हाथ पे लिखेगा, वो तुम लेकर के आओ ये ले काउंटर पे, right? Or download the app and do this. Go to this website and do this. Every time you are sending the customer in a direction, physical or digital, you're adding effort on the part of the customer, and therefore you're impacting the experience of the customer, right? So, and then you remember there's one more item to buy and you have to go through the entire thing again, right? This is my favorite. Since we are not afraid of taking names of the brands, okay, Tata Sky. Call them, okay, what is your problem? This channel is not coming, it's showing, something. Right? Then they will say, okay, it is resolved, no, then you escalate to the supervisor and you have to explain the entire problem again. Then they will assign an engineer who will come, who says, sir, problem kya hai? अरे अभी तो 2 लोगों को बताया मैंने, problem क्या है? Then I am having to explain it for the 3rd time, right? And then if that engineer doesn't resolve it, it is given to another senior engineer who will come again with a blank look on his face, sir, problem kya hai? So you have to repeat, and the number of persons that don't you wish that if you had only one person to interact with to process your entire home loan or your life insurance or the product that you are serving, that it would make it so much easier. But the more number of persons that the customer needs to interact with, the more effort you're making the customer put in, right?
There is some problem which is there is no option. You have to go press 1.
No, but this is there with many of the service providers now. They would rather avoid calls going to the call center than.
Correct. So 1290
Geo also
hash,
the
go to
same
main.
issue.
This takes entire 7 to 8 minutes just to find out the right person. What to them?
And it's a real pain. It's not with
Geo fiber is the same thing. I mean,
And many times what happens,
you don't even know which number to press.
I saw the service people in many forum, IT people also claim it, they have used the man efforts. No, but they irritate the customer by that manpower cost.
Really,
Yes.
really. I've seen Airtel go through that cycle. There was a time that you just couldn't get through to a call center executive. They would make you go round and round in their IVR, right? It's physical and mental effort both. Right? I think excellent point.
For some reason, I don't know why, I'm supposed to be a VIP customer. Okay.
That means when I call, most people don't have access to my data. Okay.
Really?
So, this is a VIP. Please make me an ordinary
Are you
customer.
sure?
And last, whenever we talk to
VIP customer or classified information? क्या करते हो भाई? Pegasus के साथ काम नहीं?
Even my supervisor done that, I have to escalate to the next level.
No, IVR is an excellent point. Excellent point. I mean, it can fall within one of the themes that I'm speaking about, or it can be a theme by itself, but it is a real pain, IVR. And you know what? People who implement IVR inside the organization get awards. IVR penetration went from 3% to 30%.
manpower optimization.
Right? That 30% brought down customer experience by 300%, that's not accounted.
And finally it can reset the model.
Reset the model. Yes.
It's like I
The
think
Bill
we
Gates.
have to.
Yes. All right. Okay, sorry. So the first one is physical effort, and then the mental effort. Okay. So what are some aspects of mental effort? One that Domino's solved a long time ago, 15, 20 years ago, was telling the customer the pizza will come in less than 30 minutes. But when you think about it, when you don't know when you're going to receive your order or your service, when you're waiting for something and you don't know when it's going to come, it causes you anxiety, right? So it is a mental effort on part of the customer. So the longer your waiting time and the more unknown your waiting time, the more the mental effort on the customer. The transparency has improved multi-fold nowadays. with Amazon and with Zomato and with Swiggy and so on and so forth. But there was a time when you had no idea where your order or service was, or when it was going to be picked up, so on and so forth. So the more opaque, this should rather be opaqueness, the more opaque you are and the less transparent you are to the customer, it is the more mental effort on part of the customer. This everybody knows, right? But remember, when there is clutter, whether it is digital or physical, you are causing anxiety on the customer. Where do I click? Oh, next button, idhar hai. Scroll. Anybody been to the EPFO website?
Even other websites.
It's a benchmark on customer experience, right? Agar niche se shuru karoge, right? And then see what Google did, right? Completely. I know this is a very common example, but it is true and still not followed by many organizations. They confuse customers on their digital assets and their physical office spaces as to what is the customer going to do next or what are they supposed to do next. This is an important one. When you are making the customer choose, okay, a bit counterintuitive. Anybody heard of the jam experiment? Okay. So there was a experiment conducted by psychologists, okay, in UK. So in a mall, so customers were coming in and there were two exits, okay. On one exit, they were selling 6 flavors of jam. On the other exit, they were selling 24 flavors of jam. Okay. Get the percentage of customers who bought from the 24 flavor versus the 6 flavors. 6 would be higher. So let me first tell you how many went for the 24. Okay.
In India?
3%. No, this is done in UK. But this follows something called a Hicks law. So if you search the internet for something called Hicks law, which I'm going to show in the next slide, and there's a reason behind this, right? So if 3% of the customers bought this, what percentage of the customers bought from the 6 choices that we offered? No. So 100 customers leaving through this door and 100 customers leaving through this door. So out of 100 customers leaving through this door, 3% bought, 97% didn't buy. And on this side, how many do you think? It was 30%, 10x more with lesser choices. And we all believe that when you give customer more choice, it actually helps with the customer experience. But no, this is the Hicks law. That the more choices you give, the more hurt it can cause to the customer. One of the reasons, as Hicks explains, is the feeling of loss. So when you're choosing 2 flavors from 6, you are not buying 4 flavors. But you're buying 2 flavors from 24, you are not buying because you see a feeling of loss. So there is a whole, a lot of science behind it. But remember, making customer choose and causing, when you are undecided, it is anxiety, right? So it is mental effort. What about, so this is about making a choice when you haven't made a choice. Right. So when you have already made a choice, I'll speed up. When you have already made a choice, right, you want the company to guess your choice or get to the choice that you have made. So if you wanted to lease a car, let's say a Toyota Corolla, and you went to a leasing car website and this is what you saw, you have decided that you want to lease a Toyota Corolla, right? And you have to go through this journey we spoke about at the beginning of the presentation. Do you relate it to the 5 areas that was spoken about? Whether it is effort or trust or empathy. This is a summary of the effort that I put in. This is the summary of the effort piece of CX. Of course, the product pricing, behavior and trust are extremely important. But why am I sharing this? there is a simple reason. There are so many ways to improve customer experience, right? Somebody will say, यार automation कर दो, कोई बोलेगा digital कर दो, कोई बोलता transformation कर दो, कोई बोले chatbot डाल दो, कोई बोलता predict कर दो, anticipate कर लो, omni channel कर लो. There are so many ways to improve customer experience, but how do you measure the impact of all your initiatives on customer experience, right? So the thing is, well, you can measure it outside in, so there are NPS scores, customer effort scores, so on and so forth. But these measurements are long, so you do it once in a year or once in 2 years, and they are very indirect. यार मैंने तो इतना effort मारा, फिर भी NPS score ना moved by 2%. This is the internal way to measure it, right? This is the internal way that you can do it, which is, I'm just putting a very simple thing. Just add the number of documents, with the number of fields, with the number of follow-ups, with the number of retries, with the number of choices you're giving, with the number of days you're making the customer wait. Add up all, and whatever number you get is your customer effort score for a minute. Or you can choose your own way. You can decide that waiting time is a weight of 10, whereas the number of documents is a weight of 5. You multiply 5 into the number of documents and 10 into the waiting time. You decide what is your customer effort index based on the physical effort you're making the customer go through and the mental effort that you're making the customer go through. And with every time you reduce a field, you reduce a document, you reduce the waiting time, you can measure your progress in this customer effort index.
I think we have to finish in 1 minute.
All right.
It is already
I'll finish in 1 minute. I'll finish in 1 minute. These are some of the examples of how effort is reduced. When your phone auto reads OTP, right? UPI, what is UPI? It has reduced the effort of making payments, right? When you think about a lot of automation and digital transformation that has happened in the customer experience, it is about reducing the effort on the part of the customer, right? So to summarize, last 30 seconds, this is effort, both physical as well as mental. And when I started, I said customer experience is very subjective. It's like water, you can't hold it. And there is a way to hold the water. And that is to establish your customer effort index internally. And everything that you do, measure its impact by what it has done to the customer effort index. And that way, you'll be able to hold water and you'll be able to eat it. That's where this is.
Thank you. It was a great presentation.